Honored to be here. Thank you very much for coming out. We're going to get right into this because it's a very short time to cover a lot of things. It's a 4-hour presentation. I kind of cut it down to 30 minutes. So accessing Kemetic quantum intelligence through hallucinogens, basically mushrooms. I'm a mushroom guy. That's my thing. I don't look at mushrooms as a medicine, but as a tool of exploration. Ayahuasca may be a medicine. Salvia, well, no, salvia is not a medicine. Salvia is just crazy. A lot of them may be medicines, but the first and primary utilization of hallucinogenic mushrooms and the psilocybin venue is for the exploration of consciousness. Had a great time this weekend with many of the talks. I think that this is definitely growing here as far as breaking convention is concerned, and the space in general is growing. More people are getting in. You know, we have recreational cannabis now in Detroit from where I'm from, and we're moving towards decriminalization of all natural psychedelics in the state of Michigan. So we're moving forward, and hopefully the UK will be jumping in real soon and have those things going. So we're gonna move real quick. I'm gonna talk about 2 minutes about myself and what got me started in this field. And what got me started in this field was, okay. Okay, it was 1957. I was in the drive-in movie with my mother and my father and my brother, and I was sitting in the back seat. My popcorn fell over, and I went down to get my popcorn, and I looked up, and this is what I saw. The Seventh Voyage of Sinbad. This guy is basically what got me into the weird, into wanting to see something more than the regular 3-dimensional 5-sense reality in which we are embedded. And that kind of set me on a journey in my life to understand if there's something more. You know, I was drugged to church like everybody else, and as soon as I could get out of there, I got out. But tales of the weird stuff, tales of things that were beyond the physical were always tales. You could never get into it and see anything for real, so it was always a legend. But when I came to a point in my life where I first experienced psychedelics, it gave me access to be able to explore these things in real time, not in some storybook or somebody telling me about what happened thousands of years ago, but something that I could be included in myself in real time. Now, mushrooms, like I said, is my thing. Mushrooms, I'm one of the firm believers that mushrooms are extraterrestrial. They are hyperdimensional, extra-dimensional. They come through from different dimensions into interstellar space and have embedded themselves in and on the earth. And when man and woman walking across the earth encountered these as something that they thought would be food, they found that that food would give them something more. Give them something more than just a little bit of nutrition, because hunters and gatherers moving along newly deposited grasslands found that these mushrooms, while they were following the cattle, gave other things than just that nutrition. They gave a mystery that is still a mystery to this day. And they really had a better handle on it than we did, because we're trying to intellectualize it. We're trying to put it into a place where we can understand it. And you can't understand it. There are no experts in this field, not one. The experts haven't been born yet. This is the beginning of this thing, the infancy. People try to malign the 1960s and say, oh, the 1960s, they were doing it wrong. Timothy Leary and the others, they didn't, no. They did what they did in the time that they were in with what they had. And anytime you birth in a baby, there's going to be a little bit of agitation, there's going to be a little bit of pain. But when that baby comes, you're happy with the baby. And this is the toddler stage of this community that we're in now. You're the pioneers of what we're in as far as psychedelics is concerned. So getting into this, as I said, These things are not of this earth. They're included in the earth as a mnemonic device, a device of memory. Helena Petrovna Blavatsky called it the Akashic Records. We call it the Akashic Records, the DMT compendium of knowledge that is in a blockchain, just like Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the hyperdimensional psychedelic currency. It's a sovereign currency. It's peer-to-peer. You don't have to ask permission. I'm trying to send some money to a person who doesn't have PayPal, who doesn't have Cash App, and I'm trying to find a Western Union in Greenwich, and it ain't happening. But if they had Bitcoin, I could just go on my phone, send $20 worth of Bitcoin, $30 worth of Bitcoin, and it wouldn't be a problem. It's peer-to-peer, automatic, and it's on the blockchain. The blockchain is a way of preserving information. The blockchain, your DNA is a blockchain. So the information is still here. Nothing's ever lost. Impacts, climate change. The last impact that we had was called the Younger Dryas. It's about a flower, an Arctic flower that went away, but when we had this 12,800 year ago impact that changed the climate on Earth, that flower came back, the Younger Dryas flower came back, and they named that Arctic period of 1,300 years after that flower. Now, we're not going to go into the Younger Dryas, but it changed a lot of things, and it also changed many of the civilizations that were on Earth because it rose the water table 400 meters. So all of the civilizations that were on water or on the shores were flooded out. This is when they say that Atlantis sunk. Now, of course, it wasn't called Atlantis, and I know many of the scientists say whatever, never, or the historians say there never was an Atlantis. But Plato said that there was because he got it from his ancestor Solon, who stayed 12 years in ancient Kemet, which is Egypt. Egypt's still in Africa, for whoever may not know it. They created a Middle East so that Egypt wouldn't be in Africa anymore. They just said it's the Middle East. So what happened was he stayed 12 years in Egypt studying, and he said, where's the evidence of the last climactic thing that happened that changed the world? And they said, well, 9,000 years prior to that period, which was, actually 11,600 years before that. Now, this is held in the record halls of what's called the Edfu building text. The temple of Edfu in Kemet is a new temple. It's a Ptolemaic temple. It's only about 250 BCE, before the Common Era. But it was built upon the site of temples that were there previously for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. You know, Egypt is redating, or Kemet is redating things like the Rahamakis, which is the Sphinx, the pyramids and things like this. And we'll flesh this out at the full lecture. We're just getting into it. So moving past that whole climactic thing, it had a devastating effect on America. America had 4 different types of elephants. It had the dire wolf, so if you're familiar with Game of Thrones and you remember the wolves that they had in Game of Thrones, those were the side of the wolves. They had giant beavers, American camels and horses and things like that. All that was killed off in one weekend. Now, what does this have to do with psychedelics? Many of the records that we had were destroyed about previous civilizations that were utilizing psychedelics, but like I said, it's in the blockchain. Now, moving off into space, Dr. Frank Drake put together equations on how many, according to the number of different planets and things there are in the Milky Way, how many civilizations, extraterrestrial civilizations, should be in the Milky Way. And there are actually billions and billions of civilizations that should be there. But then we have the Fermi Paradox. Enrico Fermi said that, okay, if all of these galaxies and solar systems are supposed to have these different civilizations in it, why don't we see them? Why aren't flying saucers flying through this room and aliens sitting in the audience also? The reason being is that we're now trying to talk about the quantum fields and quantum particles and particle entanglement and things like this. That miniaturization of civilizations is that these civilizations are everywhere. They're on dust particles. They're on piles of ant shit in the Gobi Desert. They're on your eyelids. Because the miniaturization of civilizations, the mental ways that we access these are through being able to utilize the tryptamine hallucinogens, DMT, mushrooms, ayahuasca, and these type of things. But the things with the others is that DMT is too quick, which Andrew is working on. He's trying to extend the trip. Ayahuasca is kind of hard to get enough in you. Mushrooms at high dose are the quintessential hallucinogen of this earth. There's nothing like it at high dose. It will also do what all of the other hallucinogens will do at certain doses. It will take you to the realm of the ancestors. It will shrink you down, and like Alice when she bit the cookie or the mushroom or whatever, one side make you small, the other side make you big. It'll take you into the infraparticle realms, the realms of the very, very small, so that you can in real time be able to experience these things. I've been going to the different talks. One of the talks yesterday talked about quantum mechanics and the mathematics of the quarks and gluons and these subatomic particles. But these are places that you go to if you get the right dose. High dose mushrooms is a DMT trip for 2.5 hours. You just have to be able to stay in the space. It's not 15 minutes. You smoke DMT, you go into DMT land. By the time something walks by or you see 2 or 3 things, you're coming out of the trip. And then by the time a few more minutes come by, it's dissolving. In the next few minutes, you're back saying what happened. I knew some guys, they were talking about, we were smoking DMT and looking at Beavis and Butthead. I'm saying, if you're smoking DMT and you break through, how are you looking at Beavis and Butthead? How are you in the room? How's the TV there? Because when I smoke DMT and I hold it to the last minute, everything that's there, that's in the physical so-called real reality, dissolves away. It's no longer there. You're someplace else, but it's not long enough. With high dose DMT and 30 grams, 40 grams, 50 grams, dry grams, not, as they say about me on the internet, well, Kilindi Iyi, he takes 5 grams every other day and then says at the end that he's taking 40 grams. No, you take and eat 40 grams in one setting at one time. And it's like my brother said, it's bitter. I don't like the taste of it. But you chew and you chew and you chew. You can't get it the way you want it. It's not nice, it's not fun. 40 grams of mushrooms is not fun. You're not gonna be in there, oh, well, I had some butterflies and bubbles and, the fairies came through and hugged me and I had these divine beings come through and kiss my third eye and it just burst into revelry. No. There are times that happens, but then there are times that are dark, that are malevolent, that are serious. And you have to be able to stand these places. And it's not so much standing it, it's going back again after you've been there. That's the thing. It ain't going, because anybody can go. It's when it calls you back and you say, damn, I done said to myself, okay, it's Thursday, I'm gonna go on a mushroom trip, I'm gonna take 40 grams Saturday night. I got 5 grams of mushrooms in the freezer. I've set up my launch pad with my, super transdimensional blanket and my, my power hat, and everything's ready. And then Saturday night comes, I walk through the refrigerator, it's like, oh, not tonight. We're gonna do it next Saturday. We're gonna do it next Saturday. So it's not easy. It's not easy. It's not something that you cherish wanting to do, but you cherish what you get from it. Now, personally, I'm not interested in microdosing. Personally, I'm not interested in post-traumatic stress disease. I'm interested in generally in those things because I'm part of the space and I'm a person who believes in helping people, and people need these things to be able to do it. But I'm interested in putting the pedal to the metal, pushing the envelope, going as the beginning of Star Trek in all its versions says, to go where no one, well, they used to say where no man goes before, but now they say where no one has gone before, including, and now we have to go into, well, I guess that'll cover everybody because, it's like 70 different genders, so, 10 minutes, okay, 70 different genders, so where no one has gone before. So that covers everybody, whatever your persuasion is, whatever you want to do, or things like that. Downscaling provides a potential answer to the famous Fermi Paradox. If intelligent life is so commonplace in the universe, where are they? If intelligent creatures or machines can continue to scale down in their technologies, the answer to the Fermi question would become, they're all around us, whole civilizations living inside of elementary particles too small for us to detect. We're utilizing the technology we have is not refined enough to be able to detect these things, and where they show themselves, we are not intelligent enough to be able to understand that they're right in front of us. The mushroom is an organic technology. It is a created algorithm. It is a memory source that was given to us by us for us to remember who we are so that we can then become something more, because it's about becoming something more. We're driving ourselves out of the human. I know we love the earth and organics and things like that, and people are talking about going to Mars. Elon Musk is talking about going to Mars because he thinks I'm going to hit the planet. Not that we can't clean the planet up, because we have the technology to be able to do that. We can make this place a paradise almost overnight. But the thing is that you have what's called the Taurid meteor stream, which is coming out of the constellation of Taurus. And it is part of a 100-mile meteor that bumped into another one and broke into small parts, and it sits there and gives us the meteor showers that we have twice a year, in June and in October. Just 2 weeks ago, they had a meteor or asteroid or comet or whatever it was that was so close to the Earth that NASA didn't pick up. These things are out here all the time. It only takes one. The one that destroyed the dinosaurs wasn't that big. The one in 1901, Tunguska in Russia, that flattened 800 million trees was twice the size of that table. And it exploded in the air. If it had hit the ground, it'd have been a big mess. They're talking about going someplace else not because you can't clean this place up, but because there are extraterrestrial meteors, comets, asteroids lurking in that belt, and many of them come close. And they've hit millions of times. If it wasn't for the atmosphere and grass and dirt and hitting at one time, the Earth actually looks like the moon with all those potholes. So that's what going to Mars is about. But I'm of the feeling that with psychedelics, with mushrooms at high dose, the answers are there for us to be able to take ourselves out of that equation, to become what is inside of our imagination. The information is still there. I'm a believer that information, much of it was destroyed. but it's still in the blockchain, it's still in the record halls, it's still in the libraries. But then we have information here that we are not taking advantage of because we don't know what's there. Technologies that were ancient, that are still in our purview of things that are going on. And oh boy, about 5 minutes. This goes into the different lengths. We're talking about below Planck length, which is 10 to the negative 35. That's where mathematics supposedly breaks down. They can't see any further. They say this is the smallest elementary particle. How are you going to be the smallest elementary particle? Elementary particles keep going on and on and on and on and on forever, infinitely. String theory said, what is 11 dimensions? There are gajillions of dimensions. They don't stop. But when you can't see what's on the next horizon or around the corner, you say, that's it. It's all over. Let's move through this quickly. Marvel, which was my second rendition in the 1960s going into Marvel, Marvel's doing research. They're researching you. They're researching you. They're researching you. They're researching you to put into their movies. This is Ant-Man going subatomic. Now, when you're taking your mushrooms, if you're not going, that's you. If you're not doing this kind of stuff, you're not taking enough mushrooms. And this isn't the trip. This is on the way to the trip. I will show you the whole thing, but we got to move. These are some of the different African mushrooms. We're dealing with the fang and the Duna mushroom, which is one of the African mushrooms that was utilized, but it was also utilized with iboga in ancient times. We'll have to talk about that. Moving real quick. These are some of the fang in their traditional clothing. Now, National Geographic did Africa a disservice when they, for 100 years, went and took pictures of this and said, these are the Africans. This is what the Africans do. This is how they walk around every day. You know, you go into the well, and you put on this to go to the well. You cooking dinner, and you put on this to cook dinner. You know, and they say, these are the Africans. They're wild people. They'll eat you. But then I've come across this picture, and I said, these are the wild people of England. They put all this stuff on. You see the, you know, they go around London eating people. You know, that's why they got red on their face. Moving right along from that, this is Ansar, or Wasir, or Osiris. He is the lord of the underworld, the lord of the perfect black, the master of the triple thick darkness. Now, when they say underworld, you think they're talking about, like in Christianity, or some hell that's under the ground. No, they're talking about the underworld as the subatomic realms of existence. They say the triple thick darkness because the darkness that he resides in is orders of magnitude beyond regular darkness. And why is that? Because it's smaller than the photon. When Krishna and Arjuna were in the battlefield and they were talking, and Krishna was revealing to him his sovereign yoga, and he gave him the Soma in the portion of the Mahabharata that was called the Bhagavad Gita. He said, what you are, it is so small, no fire can burn you. Because it's smaller than the molecules that create friction, that create heat. He said, no water can drown you. Why is that? Because the water molecules, you're smaller than that. No fire can burn you, no water can drown you, no air can make you dry, because air molecules, you're orders of magnitude into the quantum beyond this, which is the physical. This is the Edfu temple where the records of the disaster are held that we talked about earlier, but we've got to move quickly. This is Medu Neter, call it hieroglyphs. But Medu Neter is technology. It's a place. It's not just a reed. It's a place that you go. It's a place that you exist, that you commune with these creatures that chose to clothe themselves in reality in this manner. with the heads of jackals, with the humanoid body, with the heads of falcons, with the humanoid body. This is a technology. It's utilized and paired with high-dose mushrooms because the kris, or the mummy, they're opening the mummy's mouth. The mummy is dead. They're opening the mummy's mouth to put the mushroom caps, which are the food of the gods, into his mouth so that he can have animation inside of this scene. Don't take my word for it. Get your 30 grams of mushrooms and get this picture and set it there and look at it and gaze at it, because what's going to happen is, at certain doses, these characters and personages in this particular freeze become animate. You know, at higher doses, you go into that realm, because that's what the ancient pre-dynastic priesthood did. They went and they built a civilization on what they saw. They went into the hyperdimensional, extradimensional, ultradimensional realms and brought back a civilization of which they saw, of which they experienced. Is that it? Okay, 1 minute. Okay, this is Wasir, the Lord of the Perfect Black. Now his head was knocked out. Disregard the crook and the flail. This is a mushroom. It's part of the Kemetic secret of alchemy, side by side. Real quick, let me go to the last. I'm gonna just go through this. That's Phalaris grass. It had its own monoamine oxidase inhibitor into it. They fed it to the Apis bulls, which they cultivated mushrooms, not just let them grow on cow pies, but in Egypt they were cultivating. That's the dung beetle. The baby dung beetles, when they hatch, they eat mushrooms because the mushroom spores are in the dung beetle's dung ball. 30 seconds, that's the Kepra. Moving along, this is information, spore print. I want to get to the last slide. That is a subatomic particle at CERN. Acacia, we don't have time to go into Acacia, but this is the Neset Biti, which is what they miscall Pharaoh. He's suckling at an acacia tree. In modern times, the Maasai, they have different bags of acacia. I'm talking with a young Maasai brother now who went through the whole Maasai initiation. He talks about the acacia soups that they drink. They have a drink that they drink for fighting lions. You drink this bag, you suckle at this bag, and you go fight a lion. You suckle at this bag, and you go into individual combat. You go to suckle at this bag, you can run 80 miles, so on and so forth. We're going into the Syrian rue, or what they call African rue, or what they call the ruta. These are the Assyrian rue seeds. The magic carpets of Persia, the red dye inside of the carpet is Syrian rue. They would eat the Syrian rue and other things, the homa, different things, sit on the carpet and go into different levels of knowledge and information. Each one of these would be a different solar system, a different world, that they sit on the carpet and fly on the carpet because they're ingesting the hallucinogens on the carpet, which is an hallucinogen. Mandalas, I know the sand paintings, you know, from Tibet, the Navajo do it and all that kind of stuff, but this is not a two-dimensional thing. This is three-dimensionalized because it's a place. This is a mandala. A mandala is a place of study, not just sit there and meditate in front of the mandala, but you ingest along with your hallucinogen and you go into the mandala because that's where the ancestors of this particular system reside and teach you the intricacies of what that particular system is. And I can't, it's a kind of longer clip, 30 seconds? Okay. Maybe I could stretch this 30 seconds out a couple of hundred times. Buddhist tapestries, animation. Moving on. Puzzle box, Cenobite puzzle box, that's a place. You don't think Pinhead and them live in there? They didn't just make that up. try 20 grams, buy you a puzzle box from the toy store, sit in front of it and see if Pinhead and them don't come out. I'm talking about things I know, that I do, that I see, that is available to you because you have it. It's if you want to, well, I took 3.5 grams and had a nice time. All right, Arjuna and Krishna, what the actual chakra is the weapon of Krishna. I just want to get to this last, it's coming up. This is his universal form of which he showed Krishna during the Bhagavad Gita. You know, see, you all should be seeing this kind of stuff. Let's get past them. One second, let me get to the last part. That's Dr. Gates. Supersymmetry. He had to teach his advisors at MIT what supersymmetry was so that they could give him his PhD in supersymmetry because he's the only guy that knew what it was. Okay, we're gonna leave with Dr. Strange. Now, real quick, Frank Bruner and Steve Englehart in the 1970s reorganized Dr. Strange from a B character in Marvel, which was you know, he shared a comic book with the Thing and all those other folks. They reimagined him because they were on the East Village in New York dropping acid, eating mushrooms, and from their trips, that's where you get the new Doctor Strange from. That's where you get this Doctor Strange. Magic, sorcery, diving deep, taking the plunge, holding power. That's what it's about. Okay, I've run out of time. You've seen Dr. Strange. If not, deal with it. Thank you very much.